Welcome to the MindMill Podcast, where host Seth Marcus dissects and discusses all things impacting young adults. Peers, mentors, and professionals share intimate conversations on subjects such as entrepreneurship, exercise and health, music and art, the blessings and curses of technology, travel, and how to navigate adulthood in this age of information. We are the largest generation in history, and we dictate the future. The MindMill. Find your purpose, fuel your purpose.
Hello and welcome to the MindMill Podcast. Today's episode is very special to me. Today, we debut the album and discuss the story of my most recent musical project, Darkarts. Although this is just one band's story, the themes, successes, and struggles echo for many of us when working creatively with others. There are few things more difficult than building a successful band. Just like any side hustle, it takes dedication, honest communication, late nights, and plenty of uncomfortable work. Darkarts was so special to me. The music was unique and catchy, some of the best I've ever had a part in writing. Furthermore, the moments shared with these remarkable humans will shape me for the rest of my life. Although many parts of this episode are sad, the overarching emotions I feel introducing the episode is pride and gratitude for experiencing this chapter in my life and creating music I'm so proud of. As long as I can remember, I've been a music lover. I remember singing Beatles songs with my mom on the way home from school in second grade, signing up for school band the first year it was available, my first concert, which was DC Talk for all you Christian rock purists out there, and most importantly, my first time jamming and writing music with others. For those out there not familiar, jamming is musical improvisation, getting together with other musicians and spontaneously creating songs and grooves. It is an extremely popular style of collaborative writing and requires music theory knowledge as well as a keen listening ear. The result is a type of musical conversation unique to the musicians involved and that time and place. The beauty of jamming is that it is a universal language. It provides a glimpse into each player's soul, unachievable in verbal communication. A good jam can make great friends, and that's what made Darkarts so special. Each of our unique musical voices came together to write beautiful music. In this episode, I am joined by my co-write and lead singer of Darkarts, Liat Arochas. We get together over coffee to reminisce on the story of the band, as well as to introduce our finished album, Mountain Sleep. Liat and I have spent a lot of time together, and our candor is quickly demonstrated via our slap-happy energy at the beginning of the conversation. Comedy is an absolute must when working together in such intimate creative setting like music. Liat is like a sister to me, and it was very therapeutic to celebrate Darkarts with her in this fashion. As I mentioned in the conversation, Darkarts had an abrupt and emotional ending. Because of this, I hadn't spoke about the band or listened to the music in months. Revisiting this story was challenging for me, but I'm so glad I faced it and I'm sharing it with you guys today. Our album, Mountain Sleep, along with a live concert release, is available on Spotify and other streaming platforms. Listen away. I hope you enjoyed Darkarts as much as we did. Okay, long introduction, Seth. Let's get into the episode. Liat.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Drank a lot of coffee. We had the Pablos.
We did have Pablos.
Yes.
I took a couple sips and then had to give it to someone else because I already had a cup of coffee. And if I drank a second one, then it would just be me
throwing the microphone and saying, I'm done.
I quit.
I quit.
I don't even want to do this podcast anymore. I just want to go run around. Anyway, it's so good to have you on the show. This is a really special episode because it's just going to be a little bit different than before. Other episodes, I've interviewed some awesome people and even some musicians, but I've never interviewed somebody that I've been in such a close, intimate group with before. So today we're going to talk about our year and a half together, roughly, of the story of Darkarts and how it started, how it developed, what kept us coming back for more, and unfortunately how it ended just not too long ago. So there's gonna be a lot of twists and turns in this episode, but I'm also happy to be here to share it. We're gonna do a little bit of listening to the songs throughout of the album and talking about them as we go through, but also really just talking about what it means to be a musician in your late 20s, early 30s, and how the concept of being a rock star or successful musician changes throughout your adulthood. But that's to come. I thought that we should open our podcast together with how we used to start our shows together, which was with maybe some vocal warm-ups.
We could do some vocal warm-ups. Yes.
Specifically, I wanted to motorboat. That was my favorite exercise.
Yeah. Well, this is good for not only singers, but public speakers. When I was in college, I got my degree in speech pathology. So I had to take voice therapy because I almost lost my voice.
You were going too hard? You
I was
were
going
singing
too hard
without practicing?
without warming up, and I was singing a lot in bands in Philadelphia, and I decided, actually I didn't decide it. One of my professors in the department said, "You're losing your voice. You're a singer. I'm signing you up for voice therapy."
Interesting.
And I went to the clinic at Temple University, and they just cleared me up. And it's all about breath and
That's awesome.
motorboating and other things. But when it comes down to it, it was about the breath. It was about breathing correctly.
And you taught me a lot throughout the exercises about engaging different parts of my body in order to open up. And the breath was obviously the catalyst for all of that, but
Yes.
you know, singing from much deeper in your body and using your hands to really nail pitches, which I thought that was just something that Mariah Carey would do.
Mariah Carey
but it
had
actually,
it. She
it
had
actually
it.
works.
It works because you're
It
like
does.
seriously
It's like a-
visualizing your pitches, not just in your head, but actually physically visualizing where your pitches are. And Christina Aguilera, she got it too. And then Britney Spears was trying, but sometimes
She did a good job.
she did a great job, Britney. That Brit.
I'm a fan of Britney.
Yeah, me too.
She came about when I was at a very formative age. So
Yeah.
her music, I could take or leave. But I'm a fan of Britney Spears.
You needed Britney. Everyone needs Britney in their lives at some point.
I know. Okay. All right. We're already going off the rails. So let's bring it back with some motorboating, right?
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
So you want to do the tonal motorboating? Let's do. You want to do that? All right. So we got to take a. Yeah,
I still got
that's
it.
like a roller coaster motorboat. So
Okay.
let's take a deep breath first. Yeah.
I kind of lost it at the end. Kind of
Yeah,
turned
it kinda
into like,
just
I'm hum.
Motored out.
My motor puttered out.
You got puttered in and puttered out.
All right. Well, now I feel great.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a very short example
It was a
of
short
things
one.
that we did for a
And
lot
there's-
longer time
Yeah,
when we were
and
warming
you
up
use
for...
your not just you don't use just your mouth, but you remember we would use our entire bodies to forward fold.
Yeah, it was kind of like pseudo yoga. It was kind of like flimsy yoga. Just kinda-
Bhakti yoga.
Okay, yeah.
With
bhakti.
your voice and your body and your breath all together.
Yeah.
Look it up, Bhakti yoga. It's another experience, a whole nother level.
Yeah, it'll
Frequencies.
definitely put you outside of your comfort zone too.
It definitely will.
It's one of those things where like once you're through that, you're in this whole other realm of
Yes,
like
of-
ecstasy.
of
Like this is so
vibrations.
exciting. And,
Yeah.
you know, you just want to be goofy and dance around and make weird noises.
Because in yoga, you don't say anything. You're not really getting it all out. But then once you add your voice to it, it's like a whole nother world.
Everyone's dire for it, to use their voice and to really communicate and to be silly, and just singing has kind of become absent in a lot of our daily lives. It used to be such a huge part of community, and now it's just really not.
This is my motto. If you can talk, you can sing.
She
And-
said that to me
Yes.
all the times I wasn't hitting
Right.
my harmonies.
And all you got to do is practice with drones, not the robots, but the actual drone
with like
tones.
see, that's where I would come in, is I would just play a note on the synthesizer, and then you could practice.
You can practice for as long as you want, and you use your vowels, A-E-I-O-U, and go to town on those vowels.
I'll tell you right now, I can tell our voices are good. We're sounding rich on this episode.
Yes.
This is a
you
sultry
hear us?
episode. I think the last interview I did, my friend David was like, "I'm so happy to be in the presence of your sultry voice."
You do have a very
and I was
sultry
like,
voice.
I mean, I suppose so, but it doesn't exactly make me feel comfortable. When someone's
Well, it's your
like,
voice.
I'm so happy to be here with your voice.
I need to be with your voice at all times. Very sultry.
But despite people's opinions of my voice, I'm glad at least some people are listening to what I have to say. Or if people just like hearing what it sounds like, I'm happy with that too. Let's talk about our band.
Okay.
You were a part of it before I was. So why don't you kind of set the stage a little bit of how this whole thing started?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I've been a singer-songwriter for over 2 decades now. I started in Philadelphia, and then I traveled all over the East Coast and did many tours, and I felt like I hit a wall as a singer-songwriter on the East Coast. The same people were coming to my shows, and I just felt like I needed a big change. And then I met someone who I am still very much in love with, and I'm in love with this place. And when I went out on my road trip, yeah, it just clicked. Denver was the next place for me, and it was a clean slate for my music and new creation. So I ended up coming out here about 6 years ago.
When was that? 2013?
Yeah, the end of 2013.
Actually, never knew how long you had been
Yeah,
here.
I've only been here for 6 years, but so many things have happened and it's just blossomed into so many different projects.
It's a very active area for kind of whatever you're into.
Right. And
we talk about that a lot on the show. You get into something, doesn't matter what that something is, but it seems like there's a community surrounding it and just like opportunities start to spawn. And then it's just a challenge of what you can do and what you have to say no to.
Right. And everyone here is like here to help and here to be with you and here to support. And it's just such a supportive community, not just within the music community, but with all types of communities out here. So when I got out here, I felt extremely supported. I still do every day, and I'm super grateful for that. And then I started jamming out with random musicians, trying to find the right ones and the one that clicks.
If I remember correctly, you were trying to just kind of like Dylan goes electric sort of thing. You were trying to just take your acoustic, folky singer-songwriter style and bring it up a notch. You know, it's just going to bring the energy up, a little bit more stage presence. And am I correct?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was pitched to me when I first was introduced to the project.
And I wanted a fuller sound. Like I felt really good with my guitar and singing, but I wanted more because I have such a huge range of different pitches that I can sing and I can hit. So I wanted a band to reflect how I sing, basically. That was what it came down to. And I've always been a really huge fan of Sylvan Esso and like how she was acoustic and then she was electronic. Now she's both, which is great. The Mountain Man Band, she's amazing in. And I just decided like a lot of me needed to be more attuned to that level of music. I felt I needed to take a step up. So I started jamming with Anthony. He is just an amazing musician all around, just super expressive, super down for anything. We were jamming for a bit and then we stopped talking for a bit and then he messaged me one day and said, "Hey, let's jam again." So we decided to get together and we wrote a couple songs like at that moment and we said, "Oh, we need to get a drummer." And Anthony knew so many great musicians here in the Denver community. So he's like, "I got you. I'm going to get Adam." And then Adam came and we jammed and it was such a good click. And Adam's like, "I need glue. I need the glue." And we're like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "I need a bass player. We need the glue." And then Anthony contacted you, Seth, and you were the glue.
Sure was.
You were the super, super glue. And you came in that one day and in his basement and we just jammed out on some of my old singer-songwriter acoustic songs and it just felt really, really good. And then we wrote a new song that same day.
I think we'll get into the creative power of Darkarts, but like I'm right there with you. I think that initial spark of, well, Anthony has been a huge part of my musical development. I've been here for almost a decade, and I met him, I think, the first summer I was here. Our friendship and our musical careers and our lifestyles have been very paralleled for almost 10 years now. We had done some dabbling in different projects, tried some different combinations of bands, but as you know, it's so hard to keep the flame burning. But we always loved playing together. Anthony specifically is just such an amazing talent, like you said. So creative, so curious.
Very open.
And just such a goofball, too. So he really can control a room with his energy, right?
Really? You know? Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So whether it's up or it's down, it's
being
a powerful
controlled.
force.
It is a powerful force.
So when he asked me to sit in and play with you guys, I think the first question I asked, which is kind of speaks to my musical personality, but I was like, "Is there a lead guitar player?" I think is what I asked. And he said, no, not yet. And he's like, "I could find one." I was like, no, don't find one. Because as a bass player, I've spent most of my career supporting guitar players, lead guitar players. And so to have a different combination where it wasn't like that was intriguing to me. And we sat down and like you said, like it was just a really good gelling. We were picking up your songs quickly and kind of like taking a few liberties to make them more of like a band feel. Then somebody would just kind of start something up on the synthesizer, or Adam and I would find a bass groove and we would build off of it.
Or I would just do a chord progression. It's just like it all started with that one instrument and then we would just build and it just became some amazing song.
I think that was enough to really engage us. I think we felt like we had enough the right parts to do something interesting and to at least see where it went. So we went off to the races and just started going for it and seeing if we could maybe book a show. Oh no, it was Arise.
Arise Music Festival.
That was kind of like the
first
the
show,
goal, right?
Yeah. And then we were like, we'll see what happens after,
Mm-hmm.
if it's going to work or not.
We had from like June until August or something like that, roughly, to
because
create
we started in the summer last year, or two years ago. Was it
Well, it's 2019, yeah, because then I was gone. And I was gone.
Right. So
18,
2017, June of 2017, we had only like 2 months to get like a 45-minute set in August, and we like conquered it. We were so awesome.
Just the energy was just building. And I think what really, at least for me, what really set us apart was I just felt like we all had very specific roles that we shined in. That was just so obvious from the beginning. I mean, your voice, like you said, is just so dynamic and has this kind of like, it's familiar, but it's also very exotic. And I know we've used the term haunting before, but I don't necessarily think that, like, for me, haunting has a little bit of like a negative connotation to it. And I don't really see that. It was just very expressive. It was very emotive. That obviously was the most forefront instrument in the band. But
that was the lead guitar. That was really the lead guitar.
What it did was it really allowed us to write songs that didn't need solos specifically. There'd be parts, but I personally found that I could really hone in my bass lines to support you.
And then there's songs with just like bass.
It was so challenging and energizing for me to be locked in so hard with Adam as a drummer and us really feeling that groove, while also Anthony having a percussion background. And it felt like there was this just great woven fabric between all of us, especially with the drums and the bass, but then you and Anthony, because Anthony and he's got so much raw talent and ability to do percussion as well as vocal effects, but then his production skills, what he could do with live vocal effects and with synthesizers, queuing up, Ableton effects, everything like that type of really niche expertise gave us this really cool
huge sound.
Yeah, a big sound for not clouding it with too many notes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I really felt about it. So that first summer was just like a great proof of concept, right?
It was a great beginning of Darkarts, and we were really honing in on our creativity, and we were just really good at expressing ourselves, whether it was expressing how we felt or expressing it through the music. But we were so comfortable with each other, and we only knew each other for like a couple weeks. So
right. I know I've said this before, maybe on the show, but being in a band is like being in a relationship.
Yep.
It's like being in a relationship with 4 people or 3 people in this situation, 4 total.
Yeah.
So it's not just 1 and 1. It's not just 2 people communicating. It's 4.
Yeah.
You add your artistic expression
plus
to
feelings and emotions.
And feelings and how everyone's showing up on any given day.
Right. It's always different.
And then you mix in business, which is obviously a big no-no.
Right.
For
friends and business.
Yeah, don't mix it.
You don't
do
it.
All of these things go into being in a band together, and then just relying on each other, just consistency, showing up, being patient. It just makes it very, very challenging. So having that clear communication is a huge part of it, even when it kind of stings, but it's like speaking through truth and speaking through love may not be the easiest thing to hear, but it's not coming from someone like pointing fingers is like a big part of it. It's for
and that was a big challenge for me specifically, is like, I felt like I was pointing fingers at sometimes and blaming other people for things that it was really me the whole time. So it was more of just like really honing in on my feelings and how I'm reacting to the situation. And that goes for anything. So
kind of like, the reflection.
The reflection, yeah. And then like how you're affecting the other 3 people in the band because of how you're reacting. So it's like, take a step back.
Right.
But I've learned a lot from that specific part, just being responsible for your own actions.
Yeah. Showing up ready.
Yeah. Being on time was a really hard thing.
We weren't 100% on it, but we did these things that were intentional team builders that I had learned from other musicians or from books or whatever. And
accountability.
The vocal exercises were one, just to kind of get everybody kind of loosened up, just kind of checking in a little bit. I loved it when we would do a little breath work.
In the beginning, and setting intentions and
setting a little game plan for it, rather than just kind of like aimlessly jumping into something. So there were things that we did to kind of keep the ship sailing true. There were constant ups and downs. I mean, after Arise, we decided, let's make this happen, because the entire time that we were building this band up, I had already known that I was going to be gone for 5 months into the early
Right, in
2018.
Europe.
So we decided to, instead of park it and see what's going to happen when I get back, we decided to floor it and try to get across the finish line before I left.
Yeah.
So the next big jump was the road trip to Tahoe, which I think in hindsight may have been the pinnacle of the experience of the band.
Yes.
Just
Like it was
thinking
just
about
like
it.
being legit. Like
It was just
becoming legit.
we were all there together.
Right.
We were cramming it in. We were
in the cabin, in the mountain.
Right, and 5 people in a pickup truck with
sleeping on each other,
with all of
farming
our
all
gear
over
in
the
the
place.
back, and just
Smelly.
an 18-hour drive to Tahoe. And then showing up, setting up, and getting the tracks down. And I want to take a second. I know it was a long, drawn-out process, but a huge thanks to John Riley for putting it up there. And John Riley Productions is his company in Lake Tahoe, and he does phenomenal stuff out there.
He really does.
I'll make sure to link him in the show notes and give him a shout-out, give him a call, let him know that he's on a podcast somewhere out there on the internet. So we recorded for 3 days. It was an overnight to drive there, and then setting up
all of the gear.
3 days of tracking, and then
keeping my voice
leaving
fresh
that night. I know.
Yeah, it was hard, but I felt after that.
And we did photo shoots between.
And we did photo shoots with Jake. Got a shout out to Jake.
And Jake Holshoe, who's been on the show before and also came on a whim with us and did videography, shot
slept
music
in the
videos.
Truck going up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went back with Brandon, but he's like, I am not sitting in the middle seat in that truck for 18 hours.
That was a rough one. And it was for the best.
It was for the best.
That was absolutely a pinnacle. And the recording process was just so intense and also fun, and we just kind of went for it the entire time. I remember us always being like, what can I do right now?
It was so
Adam
immediate.
and I would be talking about some like locked in syncopation for a part while you're upstairs doing vocal takes. Anthony is with John in the control room helping guide you or talking about effects that could go on the vocals at the time. It was just such a
machine. It was a very clean, squeaky wheel machine.
Absolutely it was.
It was very present. I mean, if that was our reflection of our band, that was, the peak of being like a squeaky wheel and just being there and being fully present the entire time. It was so much fun.
It was like a few weeks before I left, too. So we really nailed it down, and it was kind of on a whim. We had to take off a little bit of work and figure out logistics really quickly. So we recorded it, and then we kind of went on this kind of like digital hiatus where obviously I was gone in Europe traveling, but we were in post-production and we were busy building towards.
Every week we would have a Zoom chat.
Yeah.
And we would put our comments in of like what we need to mix differently on all of the tracks. And it has been a very long process with that album.
It was.
A very long process.
You learn a lot with music, especially as our culture becomes increasingly more of that of instant gratification. Little quick videos, and you want your information right here and now. And music is just not that way.
No.
There's a wonderful instant gratification.
The creation
to it,
part.
Right. In jamming and in creating and writing a new song and playing your guitar.
And actually recording.
Right. Bringing a song idea to a finished mastered product that can be
so intense.
aired.
Yeah.
It can be months, if not longer, if not years, and depending on the efficiency and the talent of the group and the production team. We don't need to go into the struggles of that, but me being on the other side of the planet,
the relationships,
everything. Things got a little hairy in the production, in the post-production world. But fast forward 6 months, and we were back, and we had mixes, and we were booking for the next year's Arise, and we had some other shows booked, and we were and I think that when we came back, everything that we wrote was now collaborative. In the beginning, it was like it was just my songs. We had a few tracks, and we started writing some tracks together, and I loved them. But I think that our songwriting together really matured once I got back and we were recording new songs. Quick shout out to some of the songs that we wrote that never made it onto this album that we're going to play through here in a bit. But songs like Stone
was so good.
And TikTok and Calling Out,
we might release a live album
we have
of these.
We will release
these were epic songs.
A live show that we have a soundboard of, which will have versions of those songs
Calling
on it.
Out.
I think it's been now 3 months-ish since the end of Darkarts, but our live performances, they were just so much fun.
So much fun.
And there was definitely an energy
the crowd was
to it, of all
vibrating.
Right, and I do miss that,
I miss that too.
The power of the shows was always fun.
It was like the presence, because we were putting so much work into it. People are realizing and it's reflecting.
Yeah.
And that's the most beautiful part about our band, I think, was going and playing a show and letting it all out and just being so present in that moment on stage. And you see all of the amazing faces in the audience just dancing and getting down, and everyone's just in it.
And making believers too. It was so fulfilling.
So organic.
To feel like we were out there, we were playing our tunes, and we were getting just like really great
Amazing
response, and it
feedback.
just really fulfilled you, because we
Yes.
knew that we liked our music and we were proud of what we were putting out. But to get people that were like, "This is great," and
This shit is awesome.
and I'm not trying to bash any of the old projects I've ever been in, but I just felt like this not only had the cohesion and the chemistry, but also had the uniqueness in the sound, and there was elements that were, like I said, familiar, but not. The buttons weren't currently being pressed in modern music right now.
We've always had like different bands that people would say, "Oh, you sound like this band and this band," and it was always different bands. It was never like the same band over and over again.
Right.
It was different. So they always heard different bands in our band. And then also it's just not like any other band.
So that is the long and short of it. And we were gearing up, and we were building momentum, and music videos, the album, and the social media was there, and I had been booking us, and we were getting dates to the venues that we were hoping for, and it was all coming together. And then, such is life, the only constant in here is change, and there was a kind of like in the blink of an eye,
literally,
everything fell apart, and
in one night.
It was a really difficult time for all of us. But if anything, thinking about it now, it reminds me specifically of how precious this life is, and how
we need to be grateful of what we had and what we have, and nothing lasts. Nothing's in stone.
We talked about it before the show that we were not going to go into any of the details of what specifically happened, but one of the members had a serious psychotic break, and it resulted in him
moving back home and
moving back to Ohio.
He needed to get help.
Seeking much needed help and being with his family,
Yes.
and the overnight ending of a band.
It was like someone died. It was like the Darkarts basically died that night.
It did. We're here
but
a few months
later. But it's still
later.
alive. I mean, the spirit is still alive through the songs.
I wanted to get you here and talk about the band because it meant something to us, and I still to this day, and I never will not be proud of what we did.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it may not resurface, resurrect in a different capacity, but it'll never be Darkarts. It'll never be what it was. And that's sad, but it's also life. So without going into too much detail, it's like that's the story of a lot of bands.
A lot of bands go through the same things.
There's so much good music out there, and there's so many people that are just as passionate and have the same feelings about their groups as we do with our groups. And I just encourage any listener to don't write off music like pop music is dead. I know that you get on the radio and it sounds like there's so much that's just the same, and there's just different regurgitations of the pop equation. This is what sells records, but there's a lot of musicians out there that are doing amazing things, and you just got to do a little digging,
putting a lot of effort into what they do and what they believe in. And I think that's like just a reflection in that of actually believing in yourself and believing that you are an amazing musician is the first step to getting where you need to be. And it's hard work. It's really hard. I've been in it for over 2 decades, and it's hustle.
It is.
If you want to do it, you got to hustle hard every day.
It's like business. It's
a business.
It's like life,
If you want to be a
so many
successful
lessons
musician,
you learn in music.
Right. You're not actually a
apply
musician. It's
to life.
Yeah, it's a business. I mean, you're a musician first thing, but the second step is being a business person and actually thinking about, like, it's like a chess game. It's like, if I make this move, am I going to set myself back or am I going to set myself forward?
Yeah. Do you remember what I would say at our meetings all the time? I can just cue it up.
Yeah,
I remember being adamant about kind of like making our motto. It's like, this whole like the band is a relationship, right? And it's also a business. I'm like, the music is the sex in the relationship. And it's all this bullshit figuring out contracts and logistics and practicing and doing our work so we can show up on time. That is the work. That's the business that allows us to kick back and have musical sex together afterwards. So we can like be like, I fucking love this song. I love playing it. I love you guys. This is so much fun. I love the band. But you got to put in that
You got to put in that work.
Mm-hmm.
Just like any relationship. Just exactly like any type of male, female, 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 male, male, whatever. You're in a relationship, it's gonna be work, because if you don't work at it, there's no point.
The more you put in, the more you get out.
Exactly. Just like anything in life. You gotta put in to get out.
You gotta put out.
You gotta put out. You gotta put out to get it.
You just gotta put out. That really is the moral of the story.
Just gotta put out, guys.
All right, Liat. Well, we've got some ups and downs. As always, our conversations, we get deep and then we get really freaking goofy.
Gotta get in that cubby.
I think we should listen to.
Oh, I think so too.
To some songs.
Yeah, we talked all about it.
Yeah.
Let's listen to some of our creations.
I know I'll pitch this plenty, but all of this stuff will be available on Spotify.
Yep.
And maybe we'll find some other avenues to get it out there, just for people's listening pleasure. We loved this project, and we hope you do too.
It was actually interesting. Yesterday, I play live music and yoga, and at the end, when I was all finished, the instructor didn't know that we broke up. And she says, oh, you got to check out Liat's band, Darkarts. And I just sat there, and I wasn't going to start after Shavasana, after everyone's like totally relaxed.
Actually,
we broke up. No, I just let it happen, because we are still on Spotify. We're always going to be on Spotify. We're always going to have music out there, because it's good music. It's really amazing music. And I think that we deserve it after all of the work that we put into it. So I just sat there, and she said, go on Spotify, listen to Darkarts. It's an amazing band. And that's it. And everyone.
Well, that's all we're going to get is listens at this point.
Listens at this point. That's fine.
Maybe there will be a resurrection.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Maybe it'll be like Wolfpack. Everything happens on the internet now.
We're always looking for new musicians too.
Always looking for new musicians.
To play with, so.
Yes, jam out with. Would love to jam with you, whoever's listening, and a musician.
Let's kick it off.
Yeah.
We opened the album with the song called If You, which was, I think, our first collaborative writing, wasn't it?
Voices
was our first, but If You was not too far after. It was based off of a sequencer that Anthony had found and was working with and kind of toying around with a cool lick, and we just wrote straight off of it. And I specifically really enjoy this song because it's ambiguous. It's the opening song. It's kind of a lot of people's introduction to the band. So you're kind of like, okay, it's a synthesizer, it's a sequencer. Is this going to be a dance band? Is this going to be dark? And before you know it, it kind of develops and opens up into this kind of like beautiful kind of folky rock dance number. So let's give If You a listen.
Yeah.
If you were invited to the sunlight, would you be surrounded all your life? All your life.
This is gonna be tricky for me because I'm already like kind of getting emotional listening to it. Like I said, I haven't listened to it since before the event that broke up Darkarts. So I love that song. It's so uppy and fun, and I used to love playing it.
It's a good jam out song too. Like everyone was just dancing, and
we used to open shows with it to just kind of like ring in the crowd,
amp it up.
And, man, I love it. Well, okay, so Lady is, to me, this kind of like, it kind of rounds out the band a little bit, especially in the pace of the album, because we were considering having Lady being the kind of like debut single, if you will, and we went with If You because it was a bit ambiguous and because it had kind of multiple genres inside of it.
And it also was one of our first that we wrote together, and Lady was just me bringing the song into this project.
Right. To me, Lady is very complete. It fits a genre. It fits a theme and a feeling very, very well. But I also really, really loved how Darkarts took Lady and made it its own. The structure didn't change too much from what you had written it as, but the harmonies and the introduction of the synthesizer, how we build the song, all of these things really made. I feel like Lady may have been our most comprehensive song in a lot of ways.
It's not necessarily like a story, but I was inspired by the Women's March.
Yeah.
So I wanted to really connect with the earth and how Mother Nature just embraces women power, and I wanted to write a song. I was so inspired after seeing so many women just speaking out and just being who they truly were, and the Me Too movement and all that amazing stuff. And then I just decided and it was a work in progress. Like that was the longest song that usually I write a song. If it's really crazy and good, I'll write it in one day or in like an hour.
Yeah.
But this one, it took a couple months to write before I actually... And then that was way before. I think it was a year before I met you guys. So it was
definitely one of the first ones that you were like, I want to bring this one to an electric feel.
Yeah.
So, I think we worked on it pretty early.
It's such a building song that it needed to and it's kind of like a wave. Like it goes up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And
I love your lyrics on it, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah.
I'll probably say that in a few of these songs coming up.
Oh, thank you.
But Lady, it's just well-rounded. It fits a genre. It's unique. It's emotional. And it really is like a reflection on
society today.
Society, yeah. And these badass women out there that are just changing the world right now.
Yeah, fighting for what's right and preserving the earth, and how many people are just destroying it. So, yeah, this is a song for everyone that's fighting for that. Government shutdown. Still people are working in national parks. Repping. Amazing people out there.
So this one, the Lady.
Lady of the winter, she's cold and dark. Lady of the winter, she speaks in whispers, the rustling of the wind. And if you see her standing by the door, she will call to you to give you more. Lady of the spring, she will guide you in the right light, and she will keep you close at night. Lady of the summer, why do you speak so soft? She says the animals and plants are dying. By the big hand in the chair, by the big hand in the chair. Lady of the guide our light.
Whew. Yeah, that's a good one.
Not a lot of words to describe that.
Yeah, it makes me remember the amount of effort that Anthony put into that one.
Yeah, he was awesome. I still talk to him now and then, and he really does miss the music the most, and us, and just everything. Hey, shit happens. When you need help, and that's all you can do. And who knows what the future holds? No one knows, ever.
Yeah.
It's a good song, though. It's
It
a
is.
great song, and we molded it to something even greater, and that's all that matters.
All right, well, let's listen to the next one. The
Yeah.
next one's more upbeat.
Okay.
Universe.
Universe, yeah.
I like this one. It was a little bit of a struggle because it was kind of two songs in one, if I remember. There was this kind of edgy chorus that we really liked, the energy and bringing this kind of like take off like a rocket ship sort of feeling, while there also being this kind of eerie, really kind of spooky sound in the chorus. I also love
In the verse, I feel
Excuse
more.
me, in the
in
verse.
the verse,
Yeah, you're right,
yeah,
you're right. Yeah, the
because
chorus
was like
is all-
poppy and kind of punk and like
Right.
upbeat, and then the verse, it reminded me of like a very psychedelic trip.
It was kind of like Fantasia. It was kind of like
It was like, what's really going on in this
Right.
scene? But okay, let's do this.
Mhm.
Let's
I
let's
love
accept
the
it.
I love the syncopation between all the parts.
Yeah.
The synthesizers are like drip drops. The bass hugs around the vocals, and the vocals are just so twisted in a
Yeah.
cool way. And you do some really cool techniques. That little Bjorky part in the
Yeah.
second verse always gets me. So let's give Universe a listen.
Sure.
See you standing there with your golden hair. Turn the lights down low. Watch, you'll see it glow. Oh, it's so bright. Illuminates the night. Oh, it's so bright. Just close your eyes. Oh, just close your eyes. 'Cause the universe is on your side. 'Cause the universe is on your side. Be the day or night, the rain or shine. 'Cause the universe is on your side. See you down there in that field, all by yourself. Talking crazy things out loud, listening for that sound, searching all around, looking for that sound. 'Cause the universe is on your side.
That one was a lot of fun.
It was. And
Yeah.
listening back, I felt that I had a just kind of a new appreciation for that song. The end, I'm listening to it both kind of a little bit more objectively than before because that's been a long time since I've listened to it, but also just hearing how locked in Adam and I are in that song, as well as what you're doing.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I forgot about the
Yeah.
group vocals at the end.
Oh.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. It's
That
cool
was
stuff.
haunting.
There's something to be said about writing a concise song. That song has a
Yes.
lot of parts to it, but it's also
Very simple.
It fits right into
Yeah.
a box.
Yeah, we were discussing how that was a very vocally hard song to record, especially the ending.
Yeah.
You know, that part is doing it again and again and again. It takes its toll. And then the screaming too. I never really scream on my
Yeah.
track, so that was fun to like just wall out and just like
Yeah.
shine and like just being my old punk self that I used to
Yeah.
be in high school with my studded belt. It just came out, so it's
This studded belt.
oh my gosh.
Studded
So
belt should be a
surprising.
lyric and
Studded
a
belt.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
one
remember
of
those
songs.
studded belts?
Anybody who had a studded belt will resonate with that one. real
Resonate.
quickly.
Yeah. So we got
Is it all right?
let's see. Yeah, we could do Is It All Right? Yeah.
Ugh, well, that's the next one on the album, and that one is
That was a deep one.
yeah, that song was, I don't know, it was just something magical about that day because I think we had been practicing. If I remember right, we had been practicing for a really long time, practicing for another show or something, and
You wrote that
it was
bass line.
tired. We were
Yeah.
tired,
Yeah.
and I think that maybe somebody stepped outside for a break or something, and I just kind of like was messing around with my effects and just kind of was like working on some sort of drone idea, floating through a few different chords, and it just kind of came.
Well, you had
out of
that,
that.
you had that bass line, and I was really digging on that, and it was such a beautiful melody, and then it just all came together. Just really close your eyes and listen to this one because this is a
Yeah.
very special song.
It sits in a very special place for
Mhm.
the band and also for a lot of the listeners. It's the
Right.
song that our fans have gone out of their way to say that this is a song that they come back to
Yeah.
often.
And when I was writing the lyrics, what happens is I just start rambling. When we used to create together, I would just start rambling words. That was my beginning of writing songs, and I would just sing a melody. And what words would fit in that melody more so than really making sense? Because I've always been more of a melody than words, which can be bad and good, kind of really out there. But this one really spoke to me, and I felt like from a higher level of maybe some spirit coming in and just saying, hey, like, write these words down.
Yeah.
They're really simple. They're to the point, but then you can take it in so many different ways and so many different levels of being that listener. Is it all right? It's all about saying what you want to say and not sure how to say it, but we'll talk more after listening to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think there's the longest song on the album,
Yes.
and we were definitely considering cutting it down, and I'm really glad we didn't.
We didn't.
It gives the album a good amount of breath. It's right in the middle of the 7 tracks, I believe.
Yes.
And it kind of is just like this great kind of, you've heard the singles, we've heard kind of like our off track with Universe, and
Yeah.
now here's Is It All Right to kind of like give you a minute. So
Yeah. Give me a minute.
yeah. Is that all right?
Is it all right?
Is
Give
it all
me
right
a
if you
minute.
give me a minute? Yeah.
Oh, my dear, can you help me out? See those sound. Loving way, cold heart in the ground. Try a little harder for me to have. It's not that complicated. Something that means is it alright to look inside of your own mind? Let it come alive. Is it alright to look inside of your own mind? Let it come alive. There's a time in our lives that we become ourselves, nobody else. But the fight lives in everyone, and the torture of our souls tend to come alive, crawl out of your bones. Is it alright to look inside of your own mind? Let it come alive. Is it alright to say something real, to say something true, to say something wrong?
Is it all right?
It wasn't all right for a while.
Nope.
But it's getting better.
It's getting better. Yeah, definitely. A lot of reflective lyrics in that. Looking back on it now, not knowing that I kind of wrote about the future, especially from the second verse. Yeah. Because it's true. You live and you learn and you become more of your own self, and you still have that torture inside of you that gets to you and that always is questioning, is that who you really are? So it kind of reflects on the band, and is that who we really were, you know? That was a lot of truth in that band. So
yeah. You had mentioned earlier in the show that you're more melody and less lyrics, but I truly believe that you're a fantastic lyricist.
Oh, thank you.
And the lyrics that you contributed into this project were fantastic, and they mean a lot, and I think they have different meanings for different people, and especially obviously how you project them makes them as powerful as they are. Coming from someone who just avoids writing lyrics like the plague. You know me, like,
you got this.
Right. I'm like, I'll sing whatever you want me to sing.
Right.
You know, I'll practice my ass off on hitting harmonies with what you're putting out there. For me, it's always been about musical structure and kind of arranging a song to be badass or beautiful or long or short or whatever.
Yeah.
That's where I really feel like I can step up. Yeah. But the lyrics, especially on that song, are fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it just comes organically, and then I never realized that. So thank you for saying that.
Sure. Voices, right?
Voices. That was our first song that we wrote together.
Yeah. This one was the first one that we wrote just as a groove together.
Yeah,
and
then it formed into the two different songs. It went right into...
I don't think we wrote them the same day, but they definitely fit very well together because they're both in the key of D.
Yep.
And one's kind of this kind of like driving rock song. I love it. I've always loved voices. I've always had a lot of fun playing voices. And then it has such a nice kind of dichotomy, and it flips over into Hot Tub, which was kind of just always a working title. We never really had a name for Hot Tub, so we just called it Hot Tub because I think there was a hot tub. No, there was. We were sitting on the back porch of Anthony's old house
where
having practiced that song, and we were like, let's just call it Hot Tub, which I feel like is what many musicians do.
Yeah.
But it still works.
Yeah, it's a very funky, fresh song. Yeah.
So I guess we'll talk about both of them. Voices being the first track, driving rock song. Not to say that Darkarts was still very much an early band, even when we ended, but it felt like early Darkarts to me. And then Hot Tub just shows kind of like the very, very groovy other side that we could tap into. And I also feel like Hot Tub specifically has this point at the end that I just freaking love.
It's so funky fresh.
Just going between the poppy, the percussive, the tight groove of the verses and the epic Beatles-esque, I want you to see so heavy feel to the chorus, and then layering it like it's already kind of feels like a 10 and we take it to an 11 for the last chorus. So I really like this one.
It's
so
a great
we'll
one.
do the two together.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
There's a voice inside of me that makes me wanna say all the feelings in my head, they won't go away. Oh no, it won't go away. Everything I should have said becomes lost in translation. There's no need to keep it inside. This feeling must come alive. Oh no, don't keep it inside. From trapped underground, we grow up tall. Our words are strong, they break down walls. Once this feeling comes alive, be persistent, don't waste time. You only get one life to speak your mind. Get on the floor, calm your seat, do a little dance, run a little mile. It's all you need to feel free. Keep your mind busy, don't get busy. Boogie on down, touch the ground, get in the groove, love that sound, share my mood, hear that tune. This goddess love is in full bloom. You just let yourself go. You just let yourself go. Get on the floor, rock that beat, show your flow, move your feet, find young people looking fly, feel the rhythm, come alive. Shuffle smooth, you're in the groove, lose yourself, while everyone else is checking you out. From the crowd, making love all around.
Two great back-to-back songs.
I remember those used to be some of my favorites to do live. We do those in sequence, and I think we ended our first show with that.
Yeah, at a rise.
It's very surprising. I remember another time we played it, we hadn't quite got the crowd like in a dancey mood yet. They definitely were rocking and enjoying the show, but it's not until Hot Tub happens that people are like, oh, these guys get kind of funky.
These guys get down.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. And I've always liked that syncopation between the hi-hats and the cymbals, little teeny clicks, clacks, and going with the very simple, dry beats.
This was a fun song to do.
It was.
I didn't have to play guitar on it, so I got to like dance it out.
Totally.
So,
I remember.
yeah.
I remember. Well, we've got one more, Liat. It's been really fun. We'll talk a little bit after this, but let's do Mountain Sleep.
Yeah, definitely. I brought that one into the Darkarts project as well.
Yeah, I don't know what else there is to say about Mountain Sleep. It's another long one. It's a builder. I'd say it might be our most Pink Floyd-y song.
Yes.
It's got a lot of room for build, and you kind of feel it coming almost the entire time throughout the song. Then you're like, this is going to get intense.
That was actually the first one we jammed on.
It's also interesting for me coming as a musician because it's not in a typical progression. It's a little bit different, but it gives it this sort of Middle Eastern feel to it with a great resolution. It was a good challenge because there's a lot of parts in this song to make it really build. I think I play maybe a few bass notes before minute 3, and then it starts to take off a bit.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say Middle Eastern. My father is from Israel, the Middle East, and my mom's from Jersey, and I've always had that kind of Bedouin, Yemenite influence throughout my life. Like Ofra Haza was a really big influence in my singing, and she passed away a while ago, but she was one of the best singers in Israel. So definitely a lot of influence in my voice is just all around Middle Eastern. Those chromatic scale that, it's great. Yeah, so our last one, Mountain Sleep. Here we go.
Yep.
As I walk up the path, I raise my head to the sky. Dig my hands in the ground, and I feel the earth spinning me around.
epic.
That's a wrap.
Well, I'm really glad that we listened to it, gave it all a revisit.
A revisit.
And
a
to
refresher.
talk about it with a bit more clarity on the good and seeing the good for what it was, and the bad doesn't sting as much.
Right.
It was a fun project.
It was a great project.
And, listening back, like, all sorts of emotions come up, but there's also, like, the perfectionist. The reason that it takes a year to put out an album or something, I'm listening
You'll
back
always
to it,
hear
and I'm
something.
like, oh, that should be lower in the mix. That should be... We should toy with that delay or whatever the little nitpicky stuff is.
We'll never be satisfied.
Right. But on the whole, like listening back, it grabs me. And I hope that it grabs other people.
Yeah.
I know it has. And I know that it was a beautiful ripple in time.
It's definitely what it comes down to, it is a learning experience, a growing experience together. I've grown so much from that project, and I'm sure that all of us have. And it's just a good learning experience. How to accept the good and the bad. And how we're going to react to the good and the bad and the ugly.
Right.
And the darkness, Darkarts. We were named Darkarts for a reason. And it took us so long to think of a name for our band. It's kind of interesting that we named it Darkarts. Through the dark comes this beautiful creation, like a lotus flower, it grows like that. So yeah, we're all just lotus flowers growing in the dark.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, at least we'll end on a more light note. So who knows what's going to happen in the future? I'm so glad that I had this experience. I also worked so hard, and I know you did as well, and so did Anthony and Adam, to bring it to what it is now, or what it was, or however you want to look at it. And I feel so much stronger now because of it. I see it all as like kind of like working out. I don't see it as a failure.
I definitely don't see it as a failure.
Because it was like we all got in really good shape doing it.
We were
our
super
chops were never
toned.
better.
Yeah.
Our communication style,
Literally,
our commitment to a project.
No pun intended. We're super toned. That was a good one.
It was.
Yeah.
I'll laugh a little bit more audibly about it. This was a lengthy one.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm glad we did it. It was therapeutic in a lot of ways. And obviously, this is just 2 of the 4 members of Darkarts. So I want to tell Anthony Fugatti and Adam Gerber that I love you guys dearly.
Love
and
you all. Yeah.
I miss you, and I miss the project. But I also am really happy for the time that we had together. And I know that we're going to do this isn't the end of us playing music together. We'll do something. Whether it's in yoga classes or a different project or some weird new Frankenstein version of old songs, however it works out. Liat, before we get off, would you like to promote any of your other projects?
Sure,
what you're into right now?
So I have a couple different projects right now. Because I play in live music and yoga for the past 5 years, a lot of people have been coming up to me asking if I would create an album of just yoga music. So I'm working with my friend Treefort. He's a producer. He is an amazing artist in Boulder. We just started actually yesterday recording some great chill yoga sounds and live frequencies. And I've been working also with my friend Brian Dickinson, who does a lot of sound healings through gongs and crystal sound bowls. And so that's one project. And my other project is I write children's music, and you can find that on my website. I write for children's authors. So basically an author, any type of author, if any children's authors are listening right now and they want a song to promote their book, it's super cool. You can take it to assemblies. You can put it live while you're presenting, or you could put it in the beginning or the end. And it's just like a little oomph to your pizzazz and your amazing creation. So that's going to be on my website at liatsmusic.com. So it's LIATS music.com. Yeah. So all of that's up there.
I'm going to make all the links in the show notes,
Cool.
along with all things Darkarts,
Yes.
all things yoga music, and what's coming up. Connection to John Riley Productions, connection to
Right.
Jake Holshoe for
Yes.
the
All the amazing
stellar music
photos
videos and the photos,
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
So this was our little glimpse into
Being in a band is hard
being
work.
in a fucking band.
Yeah, being a fucking band. This goes to any band member out there. we feel you. We know how hard it is to, and that's why so many bands break up, and it sucks.
Wonderful bands.
Wonderful bands. The best bands in the world. And you think about it this way. You put 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 people in a room, and you try to create something that's one creation. And there's so many different perspectives. There's so many different outlooks that you have to come to one final solution. And it's hard.
Yeah.
And I think whoever does that and is successful and is keeping it up for so many years, I'm so, so proud to say that you are doing a great job. And that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Keeping the dream alive.
Keeping the dream alive. Yes. Taking it for the team.
Oh, my God. Oh, we've been in a band with things get a little
hairy sometimes.
Exactly.
Good and bad.
All right. Well, this was a good one.
This
I
was
really,
a-
really enjoyed
yeah.
this today. And
Definitely a therapy.
totally.
Uh-huh.
Cool. All right. Well, cheers, Liat.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to the MindMill Podcast. If you loved this episode, check out some of the other MindMill episodes. They're all free and available at themindmill.com, as well as all major podcasting platforms. Also, please take a moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's incredibly easy and really is the best way to support the show. Stay tuned for more MindMill episodes coming down the line. I'll keep them interesting for you, I promise. Take it easy.